again, back from Tesoro days, we used to rehearse jokes before shift, right? Like multiple times, like the
Wow.
delivery, how it will say, how it will sound in front of guests. It might be me dissing someone or someone taking a dig at me, from the bar
Yeah.
team. But we would have rehearsed it so many times that we know how the
Hmm.
delivery, what is the timeline, what is the time frame in which when we can crack that joke. How will it fall for a consumer who's sitting at a bar top, and how that it'll crack them up, right? And then when we do it, it's sacrosanct. It's like it's happening as if
Seamless.
seamless, right? And you get the attention of the room, but what nobody sees is that what went into the background to build that moment, right?
Hi, and welcome to Big Food Energy, a podcast that spotlights some of the most exciting food businesses and people in India and around the world. Today, we're speaking with Pankaj Balachandran of Countertop, the company behind some of the most exciting and coolest bar programs in the country. Pankaj has worn many hats. He's been a sommelier, a hotelier, a restaurateur, and even an entrepreneur. With Countertop, Pankaj offers the industry a talent pool of specialists and a range of consulting services that promise to significantly raise the F&B bar and drink programs across the country. While retiring and running a bar is a dream that many have, very few understand what really goes on behind the scenes and how to build a sustainable bar business. Today, we're talking to Pankaj about all of this. Hi, Pankaj, and welcome to Big Food Energy.
Hey, Smita, thank you so much. I'm absolutely super happy to be here.
Awesome. I'm very, very happy to have you. So, Pankaj, can you start by telling us how did you actually get into bartending? I know that obviously you do a lot of things in the space now, but if you can just start with how did you actually get into the space?
Okay, so I wouldn't say that I got into bartending. It was definitely a passion for me when I started my career. There was this thing that I used to get. I mean, I got inspired by this movie called, like a lot of people, which is Cocktail with Tom Cruise.
Hmm.
And this was a way back, right? It's a very old movie, but I wanted to be in hospitality, and I got into IHM Bombay, which is like the most iconic college for hospitality. And then from there, I got picked up by the Taj as a management trainee, and I
Hmm.
went and spent my whole beginning, the journey of my career at the Taj Mansingh Hotel as a management trainee. And I did a good 18-month stint with the Taj as a trainee, where I kind of traveled different hotels across the country, and then got posted back into Mansingh to manage and run the most iconic bar then called Rick's. So Rick's was this popular bar from 2000. Uh, it's been around. A lot of people have a lot of memories. There are guests
I
who've
love
kind of
tricks.
grown. Yeah, it's a great bar, and it has kind of stood the test of time, right? And I got it when it was already probably like 12 years into its existence, and I was a bar
Mhm.
manager. And as a 21-year-old bar manager, you really don't know much. You're always hitting a blank wall most of the time. So I really wanted to understand what goes into making drinks and talking to people, and not just managing the outer surface, but also like really
Yeah.
getting into ops. And that is when I started bartending. Like I used to love making drinks, but
Hmm.
bartending at a venue, right? So on weekends, I don't know if you know this bartender by the name of Varun Sharma, who heads
Hmm. Of
Comarin now.
course.
So Varun
Yes.
was my head bartender, and every weekend I would jump back in the bar to make drinks with him. He hated it because I used to create a bit of a mess, but that's where I started, making drinks and making drinks for people, and coming up with cocktail programs and so on and so forth. But then I think that kind of stuck along. I really enjoyed what I did. And when I
Hmm.
started, when I moved, and the problem with hotels is that they see success in one place, and once Rick started doing really well, they kind of pluck you from there and put you in a place which doesn't is not really doing well to make that place happen. And I
Yeah.
was put into this restaurant called Vark, which is an Indian restaurant. And though I love the restaurant, I love running restaurants and all of that jazz, but I was kind of, bit bored selling, Varki crab and Malai tikka and all of that jazz.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, so that's pretty much where I started my beverage journey and career, like
Hmm.
and bartending specifically. But there was a very interesting phase in my life. I mean, I've not spoken about it to anyone actually, but I was training in Dubai back in 2009 at a
Mm-hmm.
hotel called Jumeirah Beach Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this bar called Uptown Bar. So I
Okay.
used to work in coffee shop as a trainee. This is like not a trainee as a management trainee, but this is a hotel trainee, right? You're doing 12 hours of work, you get 2 days off.
Right.
It was in Dubai, it is better, but in India, it's not the
Yeah.
best experience
2 days
of.
off in a month,
Uh,
right?
no, in a week. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Dubai is
Okay.
amazing.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay.
uh, yeah, so I used to work the 12 hours, and I convinced the bar manager then that I wanted to come and learn how to make drinks, right? So I was there for 3 months, I think 3 or 4 months, and all I did was squeeze lime and make sugar syrups, right, for 4 months for that 2 hours. And that is where I think the bug kind of caught on that, okay, I want to do this and I want to learn this. And Rick's kind of helped me achieve it early on.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
what an amazing place to start,
Yeah.
because Rick's is, for those people who haven't been to Rick's, it's like this very iconic, classic gin bar, gin and jazz bar.
Correct.
And
Correct.
yeah, it's just a beautiful space, really beautiful Art Deco interiors. Yeah,
Yeah.
and just super classic and very chic. It's always been like this
Yeah.
bar that, you dream of like going to a bar on a very exciting date, and Rick's is sort of the manifestation of that. So, what a
Correct.
great place to
Very true.
start.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so you started at Rick's, and then you went to
Hmm.
a bunch of restaurants. Along the way, since then you also started your own bar with Arijit some years
Yeah.
ago, Tijoro in Goa. And Tijoro obviously created a whole bunch of waves. It was the only and has been the only Indian bar that broke into the top five on Asia's 50 best
Hmm.
bars list. Of course, that was slightly short-lived, the bar, but can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that was really a very exciting bar that really rose to the top very quickly.
So for with Tesora, I think we definitely got really lucky, right? Because yes, it's a great bar. It's the program was fantastic. We
Yeah.
had a great time running it, all of that. But it was also at a time when it was COVID. Everyone was like focusing into Goa because
Yeah.
the rest of the world was shut down, and all the energies in India was okay. Let's go to Goa, right? So we got a lot of attention from not just the trade, but consumers and people traveling in from abroad when the travels opened up. That we have opened this bar up after after always running or setting up bars. Finally, they opened something of their own. So it was a phenomenal journey. I would say it was great, and we were able to kind of build a bar in our own terms. So from
Hmm.
the music to setting up the playlist to the bar station to the back bar to omakase counters, like first of its kind in India probably. We wanted to build a bar which we wanted to drink at,
Yeah.
and that's what we did with Tesoro. And obviously, it was a lot of education for people who is from Goa, but who lives in the neighborhood, but did not know what craft cocktails were. So it was a journey, right? So even though Tesoro only lasted for 2 years, I think it was a great journey for getting people step by step to what craft cocktails are and what great drinking experiences are. To tell people that a venue can succeed or do well without having a live band playing or a jazz performer or a DJ playing for that matter.
Yeah.
So we went literally against all odds to create something that we thought would be iconic, and I think that's what kind of caught everyone's attention, and it did what it did, right? So super, it was a great journey. I mean, even though it was short-lived, I think it was a
Mm.
great 2 years that we had in building that place up from scratch to what it is today. Yeah, I mean, what it was when it was there.
What
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember actually going there during the pandemic. I had gone to
Hmm.
Goa for a story, and everyone was like, Tishoro has to be in your story. It's an amazing place." And I went, and obviously the first cocktail that Bose gave me was the Midnight Brekkie.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
the Midnight Brekkie, for those of you who don't know, is like this cocktail that I think like kind of went viral across India for the first year
Yeah.
that it came around. So it has
Yeah.
peanut butter, watermelon, and gin.
Strawberry engine. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
literally a breakfast. What would you eat in the middle of the night? Um, when you're drinking, I mean, when you want to make a cocktail, and what would you drink as a breakfast in the middle of the night? And for me, it was a peanut butter jelly sandwich, right? So, the star cocktail was born from the pandemic time in Delhi, actually, not just in Goa, but in Delhi when I was stuck with a lot of these gin bottles, and I had to move to Goa, and I couldn't carry all of them. So I was like, okay, we need to finish this gin bottles. Um, and then we were munching on PB&Js every night at home, Lakshmi, my wife, and I. And this question was like, okay, what do we do if we make this into a drink? And obviously, it took like I think 4 5 months for us to kind of get it right because it was a completely different version, it's a completely different recipe. But finally, when he got it right, a friend of mine who Anirudh, I don't know if you know him, he runs this brand called Speedex. So he was like, Bala, can I get a bottle of cocktail from you? I'm like, yeah, I'm making this new drink. So he tasted it and he's like, bro, this is the next level, right? So that's the beginning of Brekkie. And then I was selling bottles. I mean, I don't know whether I should say selling, but I was giving bottles for rent money during the pandemic time, and we kind of ran through all of the gin bottles. And when we opened Tesoro, when we were kind of putting the drinks program together, I was like, okay, this has to be on the menu, and clearly so, it became like a popular drink for sure.
So Midnight Brekkie was this cocktail that really took the Indian bartending system by storm. Soon after Tijoro, I remember seeing that cocktail on a whole bunch of menus across India. So was that? I'm sure that wasn't by design, but that must have been hugely flattering, obviously.
100%. Like, so when we build Brekkie, the idea was also to make it like how do I put it? A contemporary classic or a
Hmm.
classic cocktail which kind of was created in the recent times.
Yeah.
But that's why we really pushed it. When people ask me like, oh, can I have a special, like a menu which I can feature, and can I feature Midnight Brekkie at the restaurant or the bar? I was like, yeah, go for it. Make it popular
Hmm.
everywhere. And then we had a pop up with the brekkie at Elephant Room, at Sego House in Singapore. We also did like a
Nice in
bunch of Indian
Singapore.
bars did it as well. So yeah, it was very very flattering to see that something that you created in the kitchen is finally taking off.
Absolutely. Okay, so unfortunately, Pankaj, Tijoro shut for unfortunate and uncontrollable circumstances. But I'm sure that the experience gave you a whole bunch of learning. So, did you take some of those learnings? I'd love to know what those learnings were and how you decided then to get into Countertop.
I think the first learning is to get a lawyer. That's learning number one. I don't know what I was doing without one, but it's the most important, and I think every bartender who is pursuing an entrepreneurial journey should definitely have a lawyer up his sleeve or her sleeve for sure. But I mean, it was also a great learning that. The things that we overlook, right, in terms of
Hmm.
overlook because of emotions, overlook thinking that, oh yeah, that'll work itself out. Nothing work itself out. You need to make everything clap down. You need to have a foolproof plan when it comes to running venues and establishments. So I think that is
Hmm.
that is the biggest learning that I've had in terms of running the venue. There was nothing challenging other than getting people to have a great time. And it was nothing new for us because we've done that. But to
Yeah.
really understand how to run the business effectively by keeping all of this background things in check, making sure that you don't fall saying that, oh, if someone says, no, don't worry, I'll get this done. No, don't believe that, right? So if you are not getting it done, it's not getting done. So that's the
Hmm.
biggest learning, and it came with a big price. That is unfortunate, but I think it is in a way good that it came early than later. Because I think
Hmm.
if we had continued to operate in the way we were functioning, knowing that certain things might go wrong in the future, it would have been a completely different story, and it would have hurt even more if the bar was running for 5 6 years and we reached a certain level internationally, and then it had to shut down, right? So I felt Tesoro, we definitely went out with a bang, if I have to put it that way. We were number four. We just made our
Mm,
entry into the world 50 best list, and then it's when that happened, right? So yeah, short-lived, yes,
mhm.
but it was a good high to leave it at.
Absolutely. Okay. And after Tijoro, were you then inspired to start Countertop, or where did the idea for Countertop come from?
So Countertop always existed, so way before Tesoro as well, right? So there's a bit of backstory. There was this when in 2015 I left Taj and started working on Perch Wine and Coffee Bar. There was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of free time, I would say, that we had, like me and Weber and Anand and Bose. We realized that okay, we have some time to kind of play around with. And there's an opportunity to build something which is like a consulting company. And
Mm-hmm.
we started something called as Barback Collective. This
Yes.
is
Huh.
way back in 2015. We
Yeah.
did a bunch of bars under that, umbrella, and it was a pure consulting company. So we basically
Mm-hmm.
set up bars and move out, right? So set up bars, set up their program, set up their cocktails, set up their station, all of that, and just move out. And all of them, like obviously, Anand has got busy with Greater Than and launching Now Spirits, and Weber was busy with Perch operations, and Bose was in Singapore, and literally I was like running around like a headless chicken, traveling everywhere. And it was the same time that I was also working with Monkey Shoulder as an ambassador,
Hmm.
part time, right? And a lot of people don't know this, but I worked with Monkey Shoulder part time and not full time. But it looked like Monkey Shoulder was like, yeah, let's go.
Everywhere.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so I was traveling quite a lot, and I mean, it was a great opportunity for me because I
Mm.
could learn about bar consultation and setting up bars on someone else's dime, I would say.
Yeah.
And we launched a bunch of interesting bars at that time as well with, the consultation program. And then finally, when, these Weber started getting busy with, expanding Perch as a brand, and I had taken a backseat after setting up Hoots and relaunching it. And Anand got busy with Now Spirits. Bose and I kind of decided, okay, I think we can kind of funnel what we are doing into a much more stronger, deeper conversation. And that is when we
Mm-hmm.
started Countertop, right? So, and the idea was that bar back is the back of the bar. That's what you call as a bar back. And countertop is everything that we can showcase, right? So with countertop, we wanted everything front facing. With bar back, it was all
Mm-hmm.
back end. So we started an
Yes.
education program in collaboration with Small Batch Learning in from Australasia. We did a lot of these front facing, like designing counters, designing stations, working on developing cocktail mixes. Jerry's cocktails came out of that. Making on a mixer brand, which is Blind Guilt. I don't know if you've heard of that as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah.
Working on bottled cocktails, tap cocktails. So anything which is consumer facing became countertop, right?
I
Working
see.
on a lot of
Okay.
brands and developing their advocacy programs. And then with that, we also thought, okay, we can always do the back end consultation bit as well. So it was a good mix of both, a lot of front
Mm-hmm.
facing and a lot of back end as well. And that was the
Yeah.
inception of Countertop. So it existed from, I would say, 2019 onwards. Tesoro
Mm-hmm.
came in a year later, uh, but during the pandemic, it kind of started building up steam.
Awesome. Okay. And you've been talking about a lot about, like, building a bar program and building a beverage program. But can you explain to me, how do you go about developing a beverage program in the first place? Like,
Yeah.
I'm guessing there's no one size fits all formula, but like, what are the things that go into building a beverage program?
Okay, so there is no one size fit all, but there is an approach to it, which is an interesting
Sure.
approach because I call it the first thing that I look at is what are the four walls, right? So what is the venue going to be? What are if for example you, Smita, you're opening a bar tomorrow, what do you envision the bar to shape up, right? Can
Hmm.
possibly happen, and you can hire Countertop
Exactly.
for it. Uh,
Absolutely.
but what the venue should be, that is the first question that we
Mm-hmm.
always ask. What would be the decor, the vibe, the look and feel of the space? Um, because that's very important on how the program kind of integrates. What is the food going to be? Because usually there's a
Mm-hmm.
restaurant or the chef is on board already, or they have a food philosophy. And what is going to be the overall beverage direction, right? So what do you want the beverages to look at? Now, we ask these questions and everyone first says, I want to be a 50 best bar. And that's when we kind of tell them, okay, take 6 steps back. and then we'll, restart all over again because everyone wants to be 50 best bar now.
Yeah.
And then we kind of build out a framework for with that four questions on, okay, do I need the bar to be a fast service bar or easy service bar? Are there high stools? Are there low seat, low side seating? All of this define what are the kind of cocktails that will go into it. The cocktails are the last
Hmm.
bit of it. So there's a lot of these question answers that we kind of ask ourselves that, okay, how do you see the service going to be? How do you see the music will be played? Is there a high energy bar? How many high stools are there or high tops are there?
Right.
Once you answer these questions, you kind of understand, gauge, okay, the beverage program or the direction has to go in a certain way, right? So
Hmm.
Papa's, like, which is the recent project that we did with Hunger, we started off with one line, which is where would the real rich of Mumbai go and drink at? Okay, when I say real rich, I mean it's a very weird statement, but uh,
Mm-hmm.
someone who doesn't want to go out to any restaurants and bars, but want to come into a friend's house, right? Want to
Right.
open the top shelf brand. They don't mind spending their extra money. They don't mind popping a champagne. But what would they be drinking? They would, if I tell them that,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we have got this clarified with that clarified and all of that, they don't care, right? Because they are not the Rolex wearing, they're the Vacheron Constantine wearing guys. They don't care about what you did with the drink. So if you see the
Right.
menu, which is very interesting, all the drinks are named after a classic.
Hmm.
So there is a relatability. So for someone who wants to just have a great time, they are not
Yeah.
going to read the subsections of the drink list. They just see, oh,
Yeah.
I'll have an Negroni or I'll have an old fashioned, right? But when
Yeah.
you try that old fashioned, you're transported into a completely different space because the drink is not what you imagine it to be. But there is a
Mm-hmm.
relatability. And I wanted all the drinks to be smashable. So we start with even just that one line, and then it kind of build on that line to make it like a very once you then you know the story, it becomes like, oh, it all falls into place. If
Yeah.
if that
Yeah.
explains, yeah,
Yeah, no, no, it totally does. I must say that the Papa's Hut at Papa's is just
yeah,
like, I think, one of my most favorite cocktails. I saw it on the menu just for everyone, for the benefit of
hmm
everyone. It's a drink with vodka, marinara sauce, and basil. Yeah, so it's basically the ingredients of a pizza.
or pizza, yeah.
And so yeah, and so the description, you're like, okay, I don't know what this is going to taste like. But one drink, and it was smooth and like clean but also complex, and it was
Yeah.
just, I was very blown away by that cocktail. And
So
I
we
love the
use this.
fact that it came. Sorry, go on.
No, I'm saying that we use this word called smashable, right?
Hmm.
And I love this word for cocktails. I tell everyone that all the drinks should be always smashable, right? The reason why I use that word is that every cocktail, if you have it once and you move on to another, it's boring then. That's not an interesting
Hmm.
cocktail to begin with, right? You
Yeah.
should be able to have the same drink three times on the same night, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means that drink is a smashable drink. And I think Papa's Hut is a classic smashable. You can have more
Yeah.
than two of them.
Yeah.
As like you mentioned, it comes with a cute little pizza box with the
Yeah.
Indian pizza, and so there is a
Yeah.
lot of relatability, and you're playing with a
Hmm.
small little touch points like that. So yeah, it's a fun
Yeah.
drink.
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, smashable, but also definitely can get you smashed because you can just keep drinking it and
Yeah,
not realize how
exactly.
much alcohol you're
How
drinking.
much I
So
true story. Yeah,
dangerous, but yeah, but really, really good.
yeah,
Okay, so a lot of it would go into actually understanding a restaurant or bar's philosophy before you actually
yeah,
develop the drinks program.
correct.
Yeah, for sure. But it's interesting what you said about cocktails, because most people, when they think of a bar, will either think of cocktails only, and they think.
hmm
I'm guessing that most people who aren't from the industry think that developing a bar is designing a list of cocktails. But obviously, there's a lot more that actually goes into building a bar.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about what those sort of smaller aspects are that goes into building a bar that someone from outside of the space would have no idea what that is?
So I personally believe that cocktail is the least important factor in a bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the most important denominator in a bar is that you are a great drinking destination with a great vibe,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when we do sessions, we also tell people how to manage their music, right?
Mm-hmm.
The vibe that you create. What is the energy around the bar? How many people will flock to the counter? I think a lot of people need to focus more on that than just saying that I have a sexy cocktail program. Because if you're not able to bring in people uh, as a venue, a complete venue where the food program is important,
Mm.
it's not just you know s- serving. Like I read I think you had mentioned serving popcorns to increase your appetite or you will drink more.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's a great gratis, but the music, the food, the drinks, the service, the vibe, which stands all of it together, and the cocktails. It has to all come together to create a great venue. And I see a lot of venues, they focus on one of the four or five things, or two of the
Hmm.
four or five things, and they feel that, hey, why am I not getting it right, or why is it not going the way. A lot of people ask me, like, why is it not like Tesoro, or why is it not like the bars that you've created? I'm like, but
Hmm.
but Tesoro was like, all of us made sure each of us had a part to play in completing that circle of building a bar,
Yeah.
right? We used to like, again, back from Tesoro days, we used to rehearse jokes before shift, right? Like multiple times, like the
Wow.
delivery, how it will sound in front of guests. It might be me dissing someone or someone taking a dig at me, from the bar
Yeah.
team. But we would have rehearsed it so many times that we know how the
Hmm.
delivery, what is the timeline, what is the time frame in which when we can crack that joke, how will it fall for a consumer who's sitting at a bar top, and how that it'll crack them up, right? And then when we do it, it's sacrosanct. It's like it's happening as if
Seamless.
seamless, right? And you get the attention of the room, but what nobody sees is that what went into the background to build that moment, right? Um,
Yeah.
so such things, I mean, I don't know whether everyone will get what I'm trying to say, but there are these small little things that you add up to make it like
Yeah.
what it is, right?
Yeah. So I never thought about, like, what all goes on behind the scenes when it comes to actually, like, even rehearsing a joke. That's crazy. But could you tell me a little bit about, like, how do you get into designing cocktails? You know, does
Okay.
it differ based on where in the country you're designing for? Is there like a ratio that you work with? Like, for example, in Delhi, maybe people like to drink more whiskey, so you'll do more whiskey cocktails, or how does that work?
So, what has worked for us really well is that we have a bank of cocktails that we keep continuing to feed into, right?
Sure.
And we kind of pick and choose. So, because we have the Countertop lab at in Goa, that becomes a complete R&D center, and the bar teams there, which is Mac and Ayush, their job every single week is to come up with four different serves, and it's a very difficult job to do because you will end up. I have faced that creative fog, or you will
Yeah.
start redoing the drinks with different ingredients, and that's the easiest, lowest hanging fruit, right? But unfortunately for them, what they have to do is that they have to always work with ingredients that they've never worked with before. So
Hmm.
every week they are trying to work with an ingredient that they've never even tasted or never worked with in cocktails, right?
Hmm.
So in that way, we have been able to build a great bank of cocktails which are unique, which is new. You will not see a rendition of the same drink in different places, right? So it's
Hmm.
a completely new experience for the consumers to try something from Countertop, which you will not see at a different bar. So we keep working with such ingredients. That is one thing. And number two is like identifying what we are building, right? So I think one of the biggest, not a disadvantage, but one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of bartenders do today is that every bar has to have only clarified cocktails. That has become a big thing, I understand.
Hmm.
But everyone will put like five clarified cocktails on the menu if the menu is
Yeah.
400 covers or 40 covers, right? But
Right.
you have to understand that to make a clarified cocktail, it is a lot of effort and time, and consistency plays a major role, right? So if you
Yeah.
are not planning your venue properly, if you're not understanding the venue properly, you will continue to build such cocktails which becomes difficult and consistency drops, and someone will go and have it
Hmm.
and they'll be like, okay, that's the worst experience that I've had. So I think
Right.
you need really to understand the venue, and we are very mindful of what the location is, what the venue demands are, where is it, who is the consumer that we are catering to, all of those aspects. Because cocktail building out recipes is easy, but building
Yeah.
out recipes for that specific menu, which caters to that subset of clientele, becomes a little more thought through direction.
Right. Okay, cool. And obviously when you're drinking, you also want to nibble. Um,
Hmm.
Talk to me about of course I know that you worked with the Papa's team to create that to create the cocktail and pairing
Yeah.
program, but how does it work? Are there traditional flavors that pair well with each other, or do you look and suggest things that could pair with cocktails, or how does the pairing aspect of the cocktails work?
So any pairing for that matter is it's a very, a lot of people put a lot of attention to it in terms of pairing, but not everyone understands what pairing means.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, now, when someone will say, okay, this guy is just yapping away, but for me, a pairing is when you can individually taste the food and the drink together, but it just
Yeah.
fits right in. For me, that's the perfect way of calling it. No one is overshining. Like when I did wine pairings back in the day, I used to say that, oh, will you a heavy citrus body, like a Chardonnay, a drier, citrus heavy wine, so it'll wash away the creamy texture in your. I don't think it's the same anymore for me, because I feel all of that is like just, educational conversations. But I feel that if you are drinking a wine with food, or if you're drinking a cocktail with
Mhm.
food, neither of them is finishing the race first, right? So they are both um, right there to kind of complement each other. At the same time, it can also be a contrast, right? So it cuts through, but it kind of fits in. So we obviously sample a lot of food with the kitchen team when it comes to food and cocktail pairing or food and wine pairing, and then take a call on what fits well. And there are some golden principles which we follow, that okay, if you're doing a spicy food, then you don't do a lot of citrus heavy drinks. Things like small little things like that kind of enable us to put that thought into a much more refined way. And one of my favorite books is this book called The Flavor Thesaurus. So it's got like
Mhm.
a wheel with different flavors that can pair well. Um, but also the other way of, I like complementing flavors, but I also love contrasting flavors, right? So
Yeah.
uh, midnight the peanut butter jelly is a great understanding of, when you hear peanut butter and watermelon, people will like, ooh, that can't work. But how to
Yeah.
bring it together, that's the fun part. India, the biggest problem is, it's changing for sure. We have those five ingredients that every bartender will use, right? So there is an orange,
Yeah.
there's a pineapple, there is a mint and a basil, and a cucumber and an
Mhm.
elderflower. Like,
Yeah.
we have had so many renditions of these six, seven flavors that we are done drinking those flavors again and again.
Yeah.
So what next is what we are looking at changing. Yeah.
Cool. So, Pankaj, we've talked about cocktails and what goes into making a cocktail. But talk to me a little bit about the business side of things.
Mhm.
What does it actually take to run a sustainable bar business? How much capital do you need, for instance, to set up a bar? And if you could break down what goes where, that would just be useful.
So again, this capital investment completely takes a change from which city you are in, right?
Yeah.
Because in Goa, you can create a phenomenal bar in under a CR, right? Like great bar,
Hmm.
great vibe, good drinks, not drinks, but good decor, good seating, comfortable. But you take that one CR to a Delhi, you will get half of that space, and you take that one CR to Bombay, you get one fourth of that space. Like literally, that's how the division happens. In Bangalore, the biggest challenge is the license cost, right?
Yeah.
So if you have to buy a license, it's an upfront, massive investment upfront. Um,
Yeah.
so, and then if you're renting a license, that rental is as high as a rental of the venue. So your
Mm.
capital investment goes up significantly high. And because of that, I think you will see a lot more larger venues in Bangalore. There are less
Yeah.
of smaller venues. There are larger venues otherwise, who are breweries who are like 64,000 square foot area or 50,000. I mean, they're trying to compete which one is the bigger, uh, which opens up. And when you come to look at Delhi, you will see that some of the iconic markets become more popular, like Khan Market, Vasant Vihar, where
Yeah.
the traction of people are higher. And all of this will depend on, I mean, all of this will kind of contribute to the investment that goes in. But in terms of running the business, like, you kind of follow the standard code of, okay, your COG should be 30%, and your rental should not be more than 20%. Your HR should not be more than 10%. You kind of follow the format. And as much as glamorous as it looks outside, it's not a very profitable business, right?
Hmm.
Running a bar is not a profitable business. So I see a lot of people are opening bars left, right, and center. the effort that you put in to run a bar and build a bar and take it to a success, a success quotient or a level, but the time and the energy that you'll put in behind it and the returns that you get out of it is not a significant return. And that is why a lot of places open up with a lot of excitement and but shut down
Yeah.
very eventually. So it's still, I would say, a very passion heavy, um, I would a business as a business is a very
Industry.
passion heavy
Yeah.
business. Um, it's not a business. It's like, oh, I want to make it happen. Oh, I want to have a bar which does the best drinks and the best food, and that passion is what drives this business completely. If you have to put numbers to that, Excel sheet, it will never add up, and you're like, why am I even doing this, right?
At what point can you expect to make some money? Like, does it take a year to break even, or how quickly can someone? I don't
If
know.
if if it
I'm
broke even in a year, I'll open only bars for the next. But no, I mean, if it is a runaway success from day one, um,
Hmm.
18 months is a 12 to 18 months is a good time to break even.
It
If it is a
is.
successful run bar, doing really well, all checks in place. But if it is a bar which is operating normally, it's 18 to 24 months is when usually we start making the money back. But I think when you speak about when does one make money is scalability, I would say. So if you're able to scale
Mhm.
into not just one venue, but into multiple venues, and kind of keep the consistency, keep the business going into, in that same level, is when you will start seeing returns. And I don't
Right.
see a lot of investment stories when it comes to bars. There are very few,
Yeah.
where, there's a big investor coming and saying that, hey, I want to buy X percentage of your company.
Yeah.
It's very rare, I would say. It's not until you make five or seven or 10 of those outlets is when that kicks in. But with
Yeah.
one or two outlets, which is, catering to your guests and clientele, I don't see that kind of a change happening.
We spoke a little bit about this earlier. Awards are a big part of the success story of a bar, right? Like you said,
Yeah.
everyone wants to open a 50 best bar.
Mhm.
But I know that there isn't a sure short way to actually get an award. But I'd love to hear from you what you think is a good bar and what you think should actually go into making a what goes into making a good bar.
So I'll start with the award part, right? Like, because I hear
Yes.
this a lot. Like when I send out a proposal for Countertop doing a bar, their answer is like, okay, you have built XYZ bars which made it to 50 best, and we want to be the next.
Mhm.
Which becomes a very difficult. I think nobody should get into the business to get into the list, right? People
Yeah.
should run the business and run the bar effectively that the list will come to you.
Mhm.
And everything will come to you, right? The money comes to you, recognition will come to you. But you should not start by saying that, oh, I'm building a bar because I want to be popular and I want to wear a red scarf or I want to be on 30 best list or whatever that may be, right? And that's a very
Yeah.
unfortunate way of looking at a bar business. I think what makes a great bar is when you are getting into, like I mentioned earlier, how do you create a community where, or a space or a community where you're creating culture, you're creating an experience for people who are living around you, which is number one. Because I
Mhm.
think your local clientele who is around that 20-kilometer radius are the ones that you're catering to first. And they are the ones who are going to go take you through the thick and thin of your success, right? If you don't uh, tap the audience who's in your vicinity, you're not going to become a successful bar.
Cool. So, Pankaj, we have been talking about a whole bunch of things, but I'd love to learn from you. What do you think is missing from India's bar scene?
Oof, gossipy question. Um, Damn, that's a difficult one. I mean, I won't say that it is missing. I think everyone is in a kind of a race right now to uh, be the best bar and be the um, you know, to achieve more, to get more awards and all of that jazz. But that camaraderie which was there a couple of years back, I think it has lost its sheen. Um,
Mhm.
I remember that in 15, 16, there was a lot many more people coming together to learn something new or to do something new. But I feel there's a bit of like holding back of information kind of a situation wrong, which should change because it did not exist
Mhm.
before. But I think there's a lot of competition and everyone wants to
Yeah.
become the best and improve themselves, which is great. I think it's a great trajectory, but not leaving people behind is what I would say is missing a little. And I'm sure it'll change over time because once everyone has achieved what they want to achieve, it's back to square one of pricking everyone together, right? So,
Yeah.
um, and I want to build that. I want to lead that when it comes to what is the next baseline going to be? Where should we lead or where should we go to next when it comes to bars and the bar world and the bar programs and the cocktails? Um, Hopefully, that sheen will come back and the camaraderie will come back and there's less crying and bitching and moaning, if I could say that, use that word when you meet each other in bar awards. As
Yeah.
you say, as I told you recently, like there's a lot of gossip that goes on that, oh, you know about that bar, it's not doing so well, but I don't know why they're on the. I think
Yeah.
it becomes a bit, you know, you're there supporting them, but in the back of your head, you're saying that, oh, it's not supposed to
Yeah.
be there, or they're not supposed to. And all of it has to do with awards, right? And all of this has got to do with putting people on a situation where you have to pick one over the other.
Mm.
And hopefully, once people understand that, okay, this at the end of the day, what matters is the business and whether the business makes money, recognition will come to you, and then it's a completely whole different concept that we are dealing with as a community. I don't know
Mm.
if it was a very touch and go answer, but
No, no, that was
yeah.
great. That was absolutely great. Super. So, thanks, Pankaj. This has been great. We're going to move into the rapid fire section of this podcast.
Wow, I didn't read that in the. Okay.
It was right at
Okay.
the bottom of my email.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
But
Cool. Yeah.
essentially, I'm just going to ask you some very quick questions, and you can tell me the first thing that comes to your head. Yeah. Are you ready?
Yeah. Let's go.
Awesome. Let's go. All right. Pankaj, what is your favorite cocktail?
A martini and a Negroni. It's a kind of a tie.
Okay. What's your favorite drink to end the night?
A Manhattan. Shit. Damn.
Okay. What is a cocktail order that you judge? Like if someone comes in, asks for this cocktail, you're like,
Ooh. I would say an LIT. Super judging. Yeah. You are gone. I'm serving you whiskey water after this. Yeah.
okay. How do you deal with drunk people at a bar? Like, do you have a strategy?
Hydrate, number one. Be with them. Find them I mean, it like step by step, but find them a ride back home and get them out of the bar immediately before it goes to shit. Yeah.
Super.
Yeah.
What is your fail-safe hangover remedy?
Coke with a lot of ice, a lot of lime, and fried eggs
Nice. Is it Diet Coke or is it
together.
Coke Coke?
All fat Coke. I don't believe in diet.
Oh, nice. Okay. What is the weirdest thing you have ever drank?
Weirdest thing that I've ever drank. Oh, damn. Um, how weird is weirdest weird?
I mean, you tell me, man.
Okay. I've had like, I mean, it's a shot, which was a baishu with a snake heart.
A snake heart.
Yeah. Weird. Okay, that's weird. And you have to bite into the heart because it's a tradition, apparently. Or they were just messing around with me saying that it is a tradition, but I did have that.
You
And
bit
three
into a
shots of
snake
tequila.
heart?
Yeah, not fun. Not fun.
Wow. And you've lived to tell the tale. This is amazing.
Yes, not fun.
Okay. What is the secret to running a fantastic bar?
Oh, damn. Rapid fire. Um, know your audience. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. And the one thing that you wish someone told you before you got into this profession?
It's not going to be easy. and get a lawyer.
Awesome. Super. Thank you so much, Pankaj. This has been a real pleasure. And yeah, thank you so
Thank you,
much for
Smita.
joining us. It's been a lot of fun.
No, no, it was super fun. A lot of conversation. I hope I was able to answer the questions that you asked, and yeah, it was a great fun chat for sure. Looking forward.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Like, share, and subscribe to the Big Food Energy podcast for more inspirational and important stories from the world of food.